Thank you for joining Preservation Alaska this evening during our annual Historic Preservation Month celebration. Eric and Viviana Hollenbeck are the owners of the Blue Ox Millworks located in Eureka, California. It was a delight for me to find that someone I'd gone to school with has his own show on the Magnolia network called the Craftsman. It's all about historic preservation. If you've not viewed it, replays are on the Magnolia network or on Discovery Plus. It's a great program. Tonight, Eric and his wife, Viviana, will be giving us a tour of the shop with all of the antique equipment that Eric and his crew use to produce the fine reproduction pieces that they manufacture. Eric will then talk about the importance of historic preservation. And with that, I will turn it over to Viviana, who is the camera person tonight, and Eric will be our tour guide. Take it away, Viviana.
I'm in the yard here, and for those of you that have watched the show, this is the rose garden arbor that our daughters built in one of the episodes. I'm going to do a little pan here of the grounds and the trees that we planted. Here's the entrance. Eric's going to take it here. It's all yours, Eric. Oh, let me get up. Okay. It's all yours.
Folks. So welcome to Blue Ox. Quick tour through the shop, just for those of you that like tools and equipment. And then we'll have talk and question and answer at the end, but I'm going to get on the other side and demonstrate some of these for you.
Let me make sure that you guys can hear him okay. Let's see here, where's the, there. Can you guys hear him okay?
These tools are all human powered, this whole collection here. Of the collection, this is the oldest one. This is 1868. These are both scroll saws. This one's treadle powered. And this one's pedal powered. This is 1878. So normally, if we're going to do scroll work, Caesar and Louise and I, 99 times out of 100, we'll use that 1936 Oliver back there, that green one, because we can stack two pieces of 1x up at a time. But if the corners are too tight, if the work is too delicate, we have to default back to these two and use these. These are both shapers from 1880. See, they cut in both directions. Put a detail on just like a router. And of course, the knives are changeable. This table saw is 1890. And it not only cuts, it power feeds the board all by itself at the same time. Running it through just like a wringer washing machine. And this one is the end of the human powered era right here. It's in 1902. And the reason it's the end of the human powered era is by 1903, the Rural Electrification Act went into effect, Congress mandated the power companies, I don't care how far out the road that farm is, you have to take power, you have to get electricity. And all of these companies switched over to making electric power equipment. This is power. This one is 1890. This one was made in Portland, Maine. We're making arch top Gothic pickets for picket fences. This is the American picket fence and apple pie. Next, we have the lathe room. The big lathe against the wall over there is that one with a 10 by 10 column in it. That's a 1890 Pittsburgh, and I turned 4 columns for. Was it?
A saloon in Skagway
A saloon in Skagway
National Park.
Yeah. And I asked them to pay me a beer, but they didn't. That was for the National Park Service. Those were 12 by 12s, 18 foot long, 17 foot long. That was one of the dangest jobs I ever did. You can imagine a redwood 12 by 12. That's a big chunk of wood. And yet you get it spinning in that lathe, and that thing started turning into spaghetti on me. It would reach a harmonics that it would start wobbling around, look like a pencil, you know, when you wiggle a pencil. And I finally figured out how to get around that. Anyway, I got the 4 columns turned. Another job we did up by you guys was the oldest Russian church in the United States, Russian Orthodox Church, and that was in Unalaska. And boy, that was a heck of a job. We did all the doors and windows for that church, and that means all the trim. I wish that we knew how to put pictures on, but we don't. That means the windows, the archtop windows, double hungs, but also all the exterior trim, all of the fretwork and everything on the exterior trim. So all they had to do was push them in the holes, square them off, nail them in, and call the painters. And the reason for that, I was told it was a $10 million restoration. And from the time that the contractor put the key in the door and turned the lock, there was 90 days. And he had to be pulling the key out of the door with the lock locked. The entire job had to be done in 90 days. Whew. That was for somebody who don't do fast. that was really hard. But we
Well,
did.
Eric, we
Yeah.
may have another Russian Orthodox church for you at Karluk on Kodiak Island.
Oh,
Whoa.
another 90-day job.
No, I don't think it'll be 90 days. It just got moved off the edge of the cliff last August.
How
Oh, my
cool.
goodness. Here's a door that's going back east someplace. This is mahogany, Victorian door. This, by the way, you guys, is I believe an archetype, and that's if my thinking is right, an archetype is something that keeps cropping up over and over and over throughout history. The sunburst, not this particular one, but the sunburst pattern keeps cropping up in societies over. We don't know where it started. We don't know why it started, I mean, there's guesses, but it's something that just keeps happening, like the Green Man. The figure of the Green Man's an archetype. These are dual posts that we're making for a local job that we had made for a local job here. These are 6x6s. There's 2 or 3 window sashes. If I hold it up, Dave, can you see it okay?
Can move over here.
Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah.
And these are going to New Jersey, and they have, it's all colored glass throughout it. And I think this is A, that's one color. B is another color. Anyway, they have this whole thing patterned out. These are all colored glass going into these. This is mahogany, 2 1/4 inches thick. There's the third one right there. These two tools here. This is a twin arbor table saw, and you crank it up, and I crank up the rip blade, or I can pull the rip blade out and crank up the crosscut blade. And if I put the crosscut blade up, then this side of the table, I can put the stop on, and I can crosscut through and use it as a crosscut saw. And this is accurate, where a radial arm saw is always a roughing tool. It is never a finish tool. They're just not accurate, because the farther you pull them out on their stroke, the more the mechanical advantage is against the saw, and the more it starts to wander. But this one, and this is our shaper. This is a 1930 Yates American shaper. There's our blades that we grind. But anyway, this shaper and that double arbor saw both came from Alaska, and they were going to be boat anchors. They were going to put chains around them and throw them in the bay and anchor boats to them. And oh man, 30 or 40 years ago, one of you guys from the Park Service said no, and called us and got a really good deal to send them down here, and we got them down here. We've been using these ever since. And then we grind our own shaper knives. See all these boxes here are knives that we grind so that we match specific patterns. And that's a crown. Here's a OG. There's another OG. Those are Roman OGs. I know that's hard to remember, but just think about Roman orgies and it'll come right back to you. Have they turned off the camera yet? Okay. So, Vivian is going to talk now, because we tried this a few minutes ago and the wind's blowing so bad that you can't hear me. So she's going to tell you. So what we've seen so far is just the inside.
Man, it's windy out there. Whitecaps on the bay. So that's the Molder building, where we have the four-sided molding machines to make crown and siding and all kinds of different shapes. And that's our 1947 Erlinger forklift. And that's our sawmill building where we have a 52-inch circle saw. Scary as heck.
So now we'll head back up to the office.
Did you want to do these two?
Oh, thank you. So this is our big planer right here, our single side surface planer. And this is a 1906 Orton single side 32-inch planer. It's opened up right now. We were planing 12 by 12s with this a few days ago. And it's got a floating bed. And then this one is Mother. And this is a 1903 42-inch wide Heath double drum sander. And the reason it's called Mother is that we had a tourist come through here, and his not grandfather, but maybe grandfather had a shop, had a door and window shop in the teens, and they had a 1903 Heath, and somebody had climbed up and in the sawdust on the blowpipe had written Mother. And he told all the guys, when you make your mortise and tenon joints, you make them just as dead flat as you can possibly make them. But if you happen to get them off just a little bit, don't worry, Mother will take care of it. So it sands the doors and windows dead flat.
Did you want to tell about the upstairs?
No.
Not right now? Okay.
No, upstairs we have the fabric arts, and this is all the tour up there. And the my apothecary where I make my stains and varnish, and the sign painting shop where we do all the gold leafing and all that. Over there is the print shop, and this over here is our oldest mechanized tool in the whole shop. This is an 1866 H.B. Smith tenoner. This makes a tenon for mortise and tenon joints. 1866, and this machine's still working to this day. All of our doors and windows are mortise and tenon. The tenon is the male going through here into the mortise, goes through here, goes through here, goes through here, so that it's a mortise and tenon joint, not a dowel or a metal joint. And this is its sister, and this is a 1940 Yates American mortiser. This drills a square hole, drills the mortise for the tenon. And here's one last thing. You okay? So this is let me get up here.
Okay.
This is a cable decoration. It's actually a barge decoration. This is a barge board coming down, and that's what it looks like. And that's also beautiful and gorgeous and everything. But by taking another hour or two and turning those turnings, look what it did. All of a sudden, it gives it 3 dimensions. Can you see it? Can you guys see that okay? So that's what I keep trying to say, is that when we hurry, we're not doing a job well done. getting the job done, but not doing the job well done. Okay. So if I can I take this thing for a
Whoops.
minute?
Wait, let me get out of the sun.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to show you wonderful Viviana here. She's the one
Bye.
She's the one that did all the camera work, and she's the brains behind the whole outfit.
Fortunately, we work well as a team. Okay. So you going in, I think I have to push a button in order for you to access your computer.
All right.
So I'm gonna get off of the. See if I know how to do that.
So I hope that went okay. We're not very tech savvy, and so I hope that went good.
That was wonderful. That is amazing, the amount of equipment you have and there to do what you do. I mean, it's incredible. And it's nice to see the connection with Alaska.
Yeah. So we have done quite a bit of work in Alaska. We've done another church, in the last 5 years. At my age, everything's 5 years ago. So know that going in, everything is either yesterday or 5 years ago. We did the siding for that same place that we did the columns, the building, that saloon, the building next to it, we did the siding for, and it's the old town that the Park Service owns. Yeah, we've done a lot of work in Alaska. But neat that those two tools came from Alaska, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How lucky is that?
Yeah. And that shaper we use, boy, I mean, that machine doesn't owe us a dime. It has paid for itself many times over. So I would like to talk about, if it's okay with you guys, about my feelings about preservation
Yes.
and historic restoration, and why it's important. It's a shame I can't see all you people, because that would be helpful, but that's okay. Have you folks ever heard of a monuments men? I listen to books on tape. As you guys know, I can't read very good, but I listen to books on tape all the time. And I listened to a books on tape called Monuments Men. And the movie, it got the complete wrong story. Yes, they went after the art and found it and took the art back to the countries that it came from. And that's a wonderful thing, but that's not what the big deal was. The big deal was these were 9 guys in World War II, 9 of them. And they're old. They're like in their 50s and 60s. They've got uniforms. They're part of the military, quasi part of the military. And they are on the front lines with each army of 250,000 or 500,000 men that's marching across Europe trying to get to Germany to get the war over. And these guys were absolutely on the front lines of these things, going from village to village, telling these troopers, you can't destroy that building right there. Don't fire at it. You can't shoot that building. And the troopers, of course, are saying, well, hell, they're firing at us. They don't have any problem doing that. I know. but that's the heart of the community. We've already demolished half of the village, but the village will rebuild if it still has its communal soul. And that building is its soul. That's the heart of the community. Believe it. And the troops did. And those guys saved hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of structures that would have otherwise been just blown out of the way. And they were right. The community rebuilt around that. And those communities are here today. But you kill the heart of the community, and then the community has nothing to rebuild back around again. And that, I think, is what we in restoration and preservation are trying to get across, that these buildings are the communal memory, if you will. They are, they're carrying the information and the mindset of the communities that we're in. And that's what makes them ultra, ultra important. And someday, 100 years from now, 200 years from now, archaeologists are going to be coming through, looking at those buildings, trying to piece together what were we like. We, the collective we, what were we like? What was it like to live now? What was it like to be now? And and that's what's important to me. That's why when we did the doors for the church that Julia Morgan did down in Berkeley, I think it was the first or second episode, I don't remember. Even though it was very, very difficult, and I had to work in the blacksmith shop here at Blue Ox and get those hinges and those mechanisms working again, it was extremely important to me that the same mechanisms went back on those doors again, because those can never be had. Ain't nobody gonna make those. Those were made 75 years ago. They were tricked when they were made, and ain't nobody gonna do it today. I got really lucky, and they did let go, and we got them working again. And those exact same hinges now are on the exact same, are on the new doors. And the other part of my philosophy, we went to Japan. Viviana and our daughters and I, we built in 1990, 5 years ago. 5 years ago, we built a, that was a joke. We built a gazebo for our sister city, Kamisu, Japan. I'm probably not even saying it right, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, we built this gazebo, and then they flew us, the city in Japan flew us over there to help put this gazebo together. And then they took us around and showed us these structures in the Craftsman, and you know, they wined and dined us because we had given them this gazebo. Excuse me. And one of the places that they took us to was a temple, a wooden temple. The wisteria bush outside the wooden temple was 200 years older than we are a country. It was a 400-year-old wisteria bush that they planted there. That's how old this wooden structure is. Well, come on. Any one of you is going to say, how the hell do you keep wood going for 400 years? What the heck's this about? Because it rains. It rained while we were there. It's not like the desert or something. I don't know. But so it turns out, they told me, they have a 10-year cycle. And they go through the entire building every 10 years. And they say, oh man, this column right here, this column has to be replaced. It has to. This column over here next to it, it's getting pretty iffy, but it'll go one more cycle, one more 10 years. This one is okay. This one on its other side, it can go one more cycle. So they replace this one, thinking 10 years from now, this one has picked up the spirit and become part of the building. Now they can replace the two, and in another 10 years, when they replace the third one over there, all three of these will have the spirit of the building and be part of the building. And boy, that made a lot of sense to me. We're here in our country, we go in and they'll just yank everything out and put all brand new in. Well, the spirit of the building is being hammered by doing that, where it doesn't need to be. We can look at this as a metaphysical transformation of the building, if you will, and we can do it over time. For those of you that have seen the Craftsman, the TV series, one or two of the programs featured the Monroe house. It's a house that Jules and her brother are redoing. And they cut it, but I told the camera, it's taken them 2 years to redo this house so far. And they're only 2/3 of the way through it, maybe a little bit more. And that's a good thing, because what that has given them, no, scratch that. What that has given the neighborhood is a chance to rethink a collective, not memory, a collective idea of what this building is. That was a crack house. That was the worst building in Eureka for half a dozen years or more. It's so bad that the city finally stepped in and took it away from the homeowner. And the homeowner is a big homeowner. He owns lots of property around, and the city finally stepped in and took 8 or 10 buildings away from him, condemned them and took them away. And the community, it takes time for the community to get a new mindset about this. This building is not a bad building anymore that you want to walk on the other side of the street for. This is a good building with good people in it. And now, after 2 years, they are starting to get notes stuck in the gate saying, thank you, we love you. The community is getting a mindset change. I remember my dad was in real estate here his whole life, and he sold a building down on Field Landing, a little tiny community just south of us here. And it had been a house of ill repute for years. This was in the late 50s. And a guy bought it and was going to fix it up and make it into a restaurant. And my dad told me, if he can hang on 2 years, then it'll go. But it's going to take 2 years for the community to rewrite their story about this building. And this building is now a place that you can go, that you want to go, instead of a place you want to stay away from. And it did. It took 2 years. And finally the business did start taking off. And so it's that communal memory, if you will, that communal idea of self and place that I think is the greatest importance of keeping our structure standing, because that's giving the community a sense of self and place. Any comments? I've been doing all the talking. Geez.
Thanks, Eric. I know that all of us here that are online are feeling the same thing. So appreciate your thoughts. I just think what you do is awesome. And for those who, if you haven't seen the Craftsman, you can go to the Magnolia Network, or I do it through Discovery Plus because they've got some other series that I like to do. But it's really a great program, and for those of us who love historic preservation. So if you haven't watched it, be sure and do that. So Eric, can you talk a little bit about your school program? I think that is really an important part of what you do. You're giving back to the community.
We for 21 years, we've been in business 49 years now. And 49 years, and I started this company with a $300 bank loan. And 49 years later, we're still here. That's pretty funny. Anyway, for the last 21 years, we've had a high school program for youth that were struggling in high school. And some of them not even struggling anymore. Some of them kicked out and left high school. And 19 years we worked with the community school, which is the last rung of the ladder in the school program. And these are great kids. And they would come down here 2 or 3 days a week and spend the full day here. They'd work in the blacksmith shop. They'd work in the stained glass shop. They'd work in the lapidary. They'd work in the lathe turning, in the print shop, and spinning and weaving. I'm sure I'm missing, and the machine shop. And then they would make products and sell the products out of the gift store, and they get the money for it. And that's a big deal. And I got to tell you, it took these young people about 15 seconds to figure that game out. These are not stupid kids. They could make money. Wait a minute. It was a big deal. And we have heard from many, many, many of them now. Our biggest year, we had 25. Mostly it was around 18 to 20. We took them to, we have young people now
young to me. They're in their 30s, and in every trade you can imagine, roofers and plumbers and stonemasons, road pavers. We've got two of them that I know of that are head of, that are managers of Walmarts in their area. We have a cook, a chef. We have a priest who, I guess he's a priest, whatever. He goes in to jails and talks to the inmates in jails and teaches them the word. And I mean, just girls. We have two girls. We have one police girl, policewoman. We have two women that are head of maintenance for motel chains. One of them has 3 motels that she keeps going, and the other one has 5. I mean, it was an incredible adventure. And we changed it 3 years ago, right with the COVID thing. And now we're not doing the community schools anymore, although we do some. Now we're doing community and what are the kind of schools that are not regular high school? You take your kid out of high school and you put them in those other, shoot, I forget what they're called.
Alternative school, charter.
Charter schools. Thank you. And we have four charter schools and the community schools. So we have 5 altogether. And then in 2014, we started a veterans program for returning combat veterans. And heavy PTSD combat veterans. And from one known photograph, there's one photograph in the entire world of the hearse that carried Abraham Lincoln to his final resting spot in Springfield, Illinois in 1866. That hearse burned up in 1880. And from that one photograph, we knew the diameter of the rear wheel. That was the only diameter anybody knew, the only dimension anybody knew. And we came up with a scale and built an exact replica of that vehicle with 23 combat veterans that had never had a tape measure in their hand before a day in their lives. And that's in the grand foyer of the Lincoln Museum now, 4 months out of the year, and the rest of the time it's in the Staub family museum in Springfield, Illinois.